Hello everyone, welcome to a brand new episode of the Sports Insight with your host Alamdar Khan. And yes, as you know, we'll give you sports information from all across the globe. You guys can surely reach out to us on our social media handle, which is @ Indus News Sports. That works both for Twitter and for Instagram. But anyways, we'll go to the headlines first. And yes, from the world of football, Manchester United beat Wolves 1-0 on Sunday. And yes, from the world of golf, we talk about Patrick Cantlay, who outlasted Bryson DeChambeau in 6-hole playoff to win the BMW Championship. And yes, from the world of tennis, we talk about US Open big names. Yes, Serena Williams, Roger Federer, and Rafael Nadal will not be playing the US Open 2020 due to injury. And yes, from the world of Tokyo Paralympics, I want to talk about Great Britain managing to beat USA to win their first wheelchair rugby gold. Yes, those were the headlines. And focusing on Premier League, how things are developing, it's pretty nice to see games flowing in the right direction. We surely have a few things to discuss. We'll start off obviously talking about Manchester United getting that victory against the Wolves, and Mason Greenwood actually managed to score that goal. But anyways, to discuss more of the in-depth analysis and the matches, we have with us Colin Watt all the way from UK. Colin, welcome to the show.
Thanks very much for having me back, guys. Lots of great football to discuss today.
Absolutely. So, Colin, we'll start off with Manchester United's victory over the Wolves, and further we can discuss more of the matches. So, what's your take with regards to how it totally ended up to a point of Manchester United getting those 3 points?
Yeah, I think if you're a Wolves fan, you're disappointed with how yesterday went. I think Wolves were certainly the stronger team over the course of the 90 minutes. But you know what happens in football, you get that one chance and you have to take it, and that's what Mason Greenwood did. Wolves, they were so unlucky. I think David De Gea pulled off a fantastic double save from the corner. Right. But you just look at that Manchester United team and you just wonder what it'll be like when Cristiano Ronaldo comes into it, who will drop out. I think, unfortunately, Dan James has probably played his last game for Manchester United, and in will come Cristiano Ronaldo. Would he have made a big difference on Sunday? I'm not too sure, but I think there's still a couple of tweaks that Manchester United need if they're going to be challenging for the title this year. Right.
And talking about Cristiano Ronaldo, I just went through one of the news that actually stated now he's also went through the entire medical checkup to join in the Manchester United side. So I think it surely is going to be a more stronger and a more powerful Manchester United.
Yeah, definitely. Even at the age of 36, Cristiano can offer so much to a team. He's basically, when he went to Juventus, he scored over 100 goals in just under 120 games. His return for Real Madrid was sensational. Can he at 36 do the exact same in the Premier League? It'll be interesting to see. I would back him to get at least 25 goals this season. It'll be interesting to see where he fits into the team. As I said, I do think Dan James will probably be the one that will come out for him to come into the side.
Right.
Whether he will take over the penalty duties from Bruno Fernandes is still to be seen. But it's a good headache for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to have too many good players at your team, as opposed to what it has been over the last couple of seasons for them, where they've really lacked that talent.
Right. And if we look into Cristiano Ronaldo's growth, you were just mentioning, will he be able to pull that off at the age of 36? But all those people who are actually looking into his physical strength and how he is performing, he's surely going towards a better and a stronger Cristiano Ronaldo. And you know, yesterday I was also reading through this prospect of how he actually was to where he is. So I think there's a major possibility of him making a big difference in Manchester United, but it all depends how closely knitted the team works.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. I mean, he's not going to win every single game for Manchester United. There's still, as I said, some gaps in that team. I think when you look at it yesterday, Fred playing in that defensive midfield role, he just doesn't suit it. I think if before the transfer window closes on Tuesday night, they still need to bring another defensive midfielder in. It's no good having Manchester United being able to score lots of goals if they can't keep them out at the other end. Right. Obviously, bringing in someone like Rafael Varane should help in that aspect, but I still think they're 1 or 2 steps away from being that team that could push for the title.
Absolutely. I would also want to talk about Manchester City managing to thrash Arsenal 5-0. Arsenal is totally out of shape, and I don't see them gaining that momentum that we all think that Arsenal should have started with.
Yeah, it's actually quite a sad story when you look at Arsenal. I think ever since Arsene Wenger left the club, they've struggled to get anywhere near the top four.
Right.
Last year finishing just above the top half, and I think that's roughly where they'll finish again this year. It could be even worse depending on how they manage to get the players to settle in. Looking at that game on Saturday, Manchester City scored 5, but they could have had even more. Manchester City are probably still a striker away from being that top team. Obviously, they've been linked with the move for Cristiano that didn't go through. The transfer saga for Harry Kane all summer, that didn't go through. I would be surprised if they don't go for another out-and-out striker before the window closes. But they've just shown they've got goals throughout the team. Gundogan, Torres, Jesus, Rodri. And to be honest, Arsenal were very lucky to leave Manchester only conceding 5 goals. Now they find themselves bottom of the table, no points, no goals scored, 9 goals conceded. They have 3 massive games coming up after this international break, at home to Norwich, away to Burnley, and then you've got the North London derby against Spurs. If they don't pick up 6 or 7 points out of those, then I think they will be in serious trouble this year.
Absolutely, and you know, we all were hoping Arsenal to make the difference, but I think they still lack a lot of courage for now. Hope they gain momentum. One more interesting match that I want to talk about. Everybody was talking about it. Yes, I'm talking about Liverpool versus Chelsea. And I think what an interesting match. And when we see Chelsea making that 22nd minute Kai Havertz goal, that actually came up to the point of them thinking that they're taking in the game. But then the game became a very tricky one. Them, you know, Reece James getting that red card. It was super interesting to see this league because of the fact that Liverpool and Chelsea are like more on the rivalry side to begin with.
Yeah, I mean, they're 2 of the teams that will be wanting to be up there when the season finishes. They want to be up there competing for the trophy. Liverpool, obviously previous champions a couple of years ago. Chelsea have certainly bounced back massively under Thomas Tuchel. And as you said, the goal from Kai Havertz, I think if you're the Liverpool goalkeeper, Alisson, that's one you probably want back. I think his positioning was slightly wrong as the header looked over him and into the back of the net. But then we have to speak about Reece James's red card. Some will say it was harsh, but he stopped the ball from getting into the back of the net using his hand. It was on the goal line. I don't think there is any other decision that you could give other than the red card. And Salah does what Salah does best, stepping up to slot home a penalty. I think if it wasn't for Mendy and the Chelsea goal, it probably could have been worse. He made a couple of big saves in the second half. And it's a shame for Chelsea because until that red card, they were pretty dominant. But I think overall, in the balance of the game, a draw's pretty fair.
But, you know, the red card, because if we look into the clip again, we'd see that Reece James actually managed to have a proper impact of his right hand, which obviously they were not trying to accept that, and that kind of made them lose their mind. And obviously, if you remember, the Chelsea players eventually became very angry and very frustrated, and I think that was probably one of the reasons why instantaneously they lost their hope.
Yeah, when you lose your discipline, it's very difficult to get back into it. I think half-time was probably ideal for them to get that 15 minutes just to cool off. But what is interesting is ever since the game has finished, Chelsea fans have set up a petition for the referee never to referee a Chelsea game again. And it's actually got some likes on Instagram from some of the Chelsea players. So you can see that they're still very upset at that decision. But having looked at it back, I think he's made the right call. The ball's going into the back of the net. Unfortunately, it bounces up off his sort of chest, thigh area and then hits him in the arm. If it doesn't do that, it's going into the back of the net. So he's denied an obvious goal-scoring opportunity, and Salah's stepped up and slotted the penalty home. Yep,
I think it's going to be more interesting as it all develops. I would also want to talk about the next match. I would want you to have your say on Aston Villa that actually managed to draw against Brentford.
Yeah, one of those games that probably when you looked at the fixture list this weekend wasn't one that came out to say it would be a classic, but it was a very good game. You're looking at the kind of the tale of the 2 big signings in these games. You've got Buendia for Aston Villa scoring, and then you've got Ivan Toney scoring for Brentford. Ivan Toney's been a revelation since he joined Brentford. Again, only £5 million from Peterborough. Scored over 20 goals in the Championship last year, stepped up to the Premier League, and he's got his first Premier League goal. And Buendia I think he was just given far too much time on the edge of the area, and that's how he managed to equalise for them. But it was one of those ones that was back and forth, back and forth. Marley Watkins coming close for Villa, Rico Hendry coming close for Brentford. But Brentford will be delighted with their start to their first ever season in the Premier League. That's unbeaten after 3 games. They've got 1 win and 2 draws. They beat Arsenal. They'll be delighted going into this international break of how they've started the season.
Right. If we look at the table right now, how do you see it further going ahead? Because I see Tottenham, West Ham, then Manchester United, then Chelsea, and then Liverpool. But I think it will definitely, in terms of the upcoming matches, things may change, but I don't see Arsenal making it back up very soon.
No, I think they'll take a while. As I said, the next 3 games for them are massive. If they can get 7 points out of 9, they'll probably find themselves back in the top half of the table. But if they drop even 3 or 4 points around that, then it's going to be a massive struggle for them. I think the pressure could be on Mikel Arteta very soon to get a performance out of them. They obviously had the 6-0 victory over West Brom in the Carabao Cup, but they've yet to score in the league. And that's massive. If they go into the next game against Norwich and don't get the 3 points, I think the fans could turn on them very quickly.
Right. Let's hope and let's see the future of Arsenal very soon. Thank you very much for being a part of the show, Colin, and sharing your in-depth analysis in terms of the world of football.
Thank you very much.
So this Colin, and obviously he gave his in-depth analysis and how interesting, this weekend was, and we definitely talked about the major matches. Yes, we talked about how Manchester United managed to get that victory 1-0, and then we talked about how Manchester City thrashed Arsenal 5-0, which surely was a surprise. And then we also talked about Liverpool playing out with the Chelsea scoring 1-1 draw. And then we also discussed Brentford actually coming to a point of it being a draw with Aston Villa. But anyways, guys, what we will do is we will take a quick break. Once we get back from the break, there is more coming in from the world of sports. See you guys after the break. And yes, welcome back from the break. And before the break, we were discussing the world of football, where we talked about Premier League, some important matches that actually took place over the weekend. But not to forget, we also talk about various sports from the world. So I'm going to focus now on golf. Yes, talking about golf, it has come up to a point of Peter Cantray to actually outlast Bryson DeChambeau in a 6-hole playoff to win the BMW Championship. But to discuss the in-depth analysis, we have RJ McLaw all the way from Canada. McLaw, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. How are you doing today?
So far, so good. So yes, I would surely want your in-depth analysis with how things have rolled into in terms of the BMW Championship.
Yeah. I mean, what an incredible just afternoon of golf. The playoffs in general have been really good. Started off with Tony Finau winning a playoff. He deserved to win for a long time, so it's good to see that. And then just probably the best final round we've had all season yesterday. Bryson and Patrick were just going back and forth all around. Patrick was making every putt he looked at. Bryson just hitting the ball insane distance. His short game was pretty good up until the end, but just toe-to-toe, great matchup. 2 guys that are a little bit different, but I think deep down they're more alike than they'd like to admit. But it was just a fantastic second playoff event, and rolling right into the Tour Championship, it sets up to be a good conclusion to what's been a pretty good season.
Right. I would also want your in-depth analysis with regards to, obviously, McIlroy could not come up to the point where we always expect him to. So what's your take on his performance? Obviously, he definitely fell shorter, but, you would probably have a better idea in terms, and, I'm sure the viewers would also want to know.
Sure. I can speak on that. So it's tough. Like, he finished third, I think. He had a pretty good week. He finished like 22 under, something around that.
Right.
Anytime that this winning score is going to be like 26, 27 under, you really have to have like 4 just pretty flawless days. Rory hasn't really seemed to have been able to put together 4 great days in a tournament in a little while. When you get one day, Rory could beat any player. I mean, most PGA Tour golfers could, but Rory's arguably the best player in one day you're going to find, but he just hasn't really been able to put it together for 4 days.
Right.
But he doesn't have much of a chance this week, starting so far back with the staggered scoring in the Tour Championship.
Right.
However, he's one of those guys that he could get really low and get himself up there in contention.
Right. And I would also, in terms of my favorite, if I talk about that, I would talk about Jon Rahm. And, I think he definitely is one of those supreme golfers that I've seen evolve lately. And I think we all know after him winning the major and, before that going through that Memorial, losing it for the fact that, he had COVID. So I think he also has very interesting growth in terms of how things in golf are going for him.
Yeah, absolutely. He's probably emerged, probably had the best overall season of anyone on the PGA Tour this year. The way he played in majors, the way he's played at the Memorial, he's handled a lot of ups and downs with the COVID situation.
Right.
And I mean, people can judge that how they will based on the vaccine situation. But nonetheless, he has gone through quite a few ups and downs. And every time he's in contention or up near the leaderboard, he's pretty lights out. He's a pretty solid golfer, and he's probably, any of the guys in the top 5 have a really good chance this week, but he would probably be my favorite going into this week as well. And that time away that he had to spend sitting on the couch for a few weeks, it seems to have kind of done his mental health well, because that was one thing he always kind of struggled, being a little bit temperamental.
Right.
But now he's in interviews giving Ted Lasso quotes and just being very down to earth, and he seems to have calmed down a bit. So things seem good in the Jon Rahm world.
Right, and literally, if we look into how he came to where he is, if we look into how mental health awareness is now a major subject, and I think we all need to raise voice for that, because for people who are going through this COVID entire situation, those even who have finally started developing these mental health issues, and I think Rory is one of the prime examples to see how positive he was before even winning that major.
Yeah, I think it's completely changed sort of his outlook when he gets to the golf course. I think he used to feel like he had to always prove something to someone.
Right.
And it just seems like a weight has just lifted off of him. And in the next couple of years, look out. He's poised to become the #1 golfer in the world. He could be the next guy that just kind of starts running away with things, or he could just keep on the path he's going, which is perfectly fine as well. But yeah, I think things look bright for him for sure.
Yep, it's definitely, but anyways, he's one of the prime examples for it. I would also want to discuss in terms of the course in which obviously this golf tournament took place, what were the weather conditions? And because of the fact that if I remember, the last tournament that we actually did was, it was shut down for the fact that, because of thunderstorm and hurricanes. So what was the condition like in this golf course?
Yeah, it was, the conditions were pretty benign, actually. There was a bit of maybe like rain and stuff. It was a little bit soft, you saw.
Right.
It's pretty much set up perfectly for a Bryson DeChambeau golf course when it's long, but it's soft and the wind is down. It really just sets up for Bryson DeChambeau to destroy the golf course. So we hadn't seen that golf course in a long time on the PGA Tour. I think it held up well. I personally like to see tournaments when the score is a little hard, like it's a little bit harder for the pros. I don't love when it's, minus 25, minus 30, but it is certainly entertaining. And we got Caves Valley, I believe the golf course was. They put on a good show, and I wouldn't be surprised if the PGA Tour would be going back there, because that was just a fantastic final round. Right,
and I still think Peter Cantlay, obviously managing to win that, taking home around 1.7 million, followed up by Bryson DeChambeau, who actually took around 1.02 million. But I think it's interesting to see how these golfers are slowly and gradually evolving back and coming back to life in terms of the world of golf, because like I said, and I discussed with you earlier, in terms of the mental health perspective, and I think they all finally will have to be adjusting to the new normal.
Yeah, and we're seeing, it's interesting to see the reaction from the fans too, because they're getting back out there. And the fans have been back for a little while now, but it seems like it just keeps ratcheting up and ratcheting up. And speaking on the mental health stuff, like a lot of fans have been giving Bryson a really hard time.
Right.
I don't know where I'd land on that. I'm not the biggest Bryson fan, but
right.
You can't deny that he puts on a great show. If he's in the final pairing or he's in contention, everyone wants to watch.
Right.
So I think sometimes the fans can be a little bit across the line in terms of that, but Bryson also kind of brings it on himself a little bit.
Right.
But I think, yeah, it's good to see that everybody's sort of getting back in the swing of things, and the Ryder Cup in September, that's going to be a big congregation of fans. And,
well, we definitely would look forward
Europe,
for the Riders' Cup as well. Well, McLaw, thank you so much for being a part of the show and discussing the world of golf with us.
Yeah, thank you. Take care.
So that was McLaw, and obviously he did give an in-depth analysis in terms of what's happening in the world of golf. And yes, we definitely talked about how Peter Cantlay managed to outlast Bryson DeChambeau, managed to win the BMW Championship. But anyways, we would surely want to add more to the news. We want to talk about tennis. Yes, we talk about US Open. Big names, Serena Williams, Federer, Nadal will not be playing the US Open due to injury. And not only that, this was the first major tournament of these three big names not playing. And, you know, it's going to be interesting to see how things grow. Not to forget, Andy Murray will be playing, Djokovic will also be playing, and Naomi Osaka is finally going to play. That's interesting to see because Naomi Osaka has been raising voice in terms of the mental health. And US Open, we also told you guys a few days ago how US Open has decided to make sure that, you know, they focus on the mental health awareness. And that's a big subject. And not only that, I would also want to tell you that Djokovic is bidding to win his 21st Grand Slam men's title. So we sorely know how interesting he gets in terms of, you know, performance. So let's see if he manages to get and grab that title. Anyways, this was from the world of tennis. I'll quickly give you guys a quick overview of the Tokyo Paralympics. Yes, talking about Great Britain managing to win against USA wheelchair rugby. Yes, they finally managed to get that gold that they needed. And not only that, Great Britain scored intense 59 points, whereas USA only managed to score 49. So the top scorer, Jim Roberts, he scored 33 points. And, you know, I think many congratulations to Great Britain to getting that gold. Anyways, guys, what you can do is you can surely reach out to us on our social media, which is @Indus News Sports. That works both for Twitter and for Instagram. Till then, take good care of yourselves. Bye-bye.